They almost gave Bodie away. He was the only reason their son is still here. Theo Vasquez Lindquist was 7 months old, sitting up on his own for the first time that week, wobbly and proud of it. Bodie, the family's 8-month-old Bernese mountain dog puppy, had a habit that his owner Renata could not train out of him no matter what she tried. Every time Theo sat upright, Bodie would shuffle over and lean his entire 50-pound body against the boy's back. Not playfully. Not the clumsy stumbling of a puppy who hadn't learned his own size yet. Deliberately. Solidly. Enough that Theo would sometimes list sideways under the weight before catching himself. He's going to knock him over one of these days, Renata's husband Theo Sr. said. The reason they'd named their son after him in the first place, a small family joke that had felt sweeter before this became a recurring argument. He's a puppy. He doesn't know his own strength. We should crate him more when Theo's on the floor. Renata had grown up around working dogs. She'd trained 2 Labradors in her 20s. She knew, or thought she knew, exactly what unrefined puppy behavior looked like. And this, the leaning, the refusal to stop no matter how many times she redirected him, fit the pattern of an untrained animal that hadn't yet learned boundaries. They started crating Bodie during Theo's floor time. He'd whine from inside, a thin, distressed sound Renata had never heard from him before, not even as a young pup separated from his litter. Some days she'd let him out early just to stop the noise. And the second his paws hit the floor, he'd go straight to Theo and lean again. Like the crate had never happened. Like the correction hadn't registered at all. It's not a phase, Theo Sr. said one evening, watching Bodie press against their son for the 4th time that day. We need to think about whether this is going to work long term. A puppy who won't learn no becomes a bigger problem as an adult dog. They didn't rehome him that week, but the conversation had started, and once a conversation like that starts, it doesn't fully stop. It just goes quiet, waiting for the next incident to bring it back. The next incident came 11 days later, and it wasn't Bodie leaning on anyone. Theo had a mild cold that week. Nothing that worried them. A runny nose. A bit more sleep than usual. He was sitting on the living room floor, propped against a cushion, when Renata noticed his color looked slightly off. Not dramatically. A subtle grayish cast around his lips that she almost dismissed as the room's lighting. Bodie noticed first. He crossed the room at a near run, something he'd never done indoors, and instead of leaning gently the way he always did, he pushed his full weight against Theo's side hard enough to tip him gently onto the cushion, propping him at an angle Renata would later learn was closer to a recovery position than an accident. She picked her son up. His breathing had a faint wet catch to it she hadn't noticed a moment before. His chest was working harder than it should have been for a boy just sitting quietly. At urgent care, the nurse practitioner listened to Theo's lungs for longer than felt comfortable, and used the phrase early bronchiolitis, borderline respiratory distress. A cold that had quietly progressed further than any of them realized, because infants don't always show labored breathing the way adults do. Sometimes the only visible sign is a subtle change in color and posture that a parent, looking for tears or fever, can miss entirely. You caught this early, the nurse said. Another day, maybe 2, and we'd be talking about a hospital admission instead of a nebulizer treatment. Renata thought about the leaning. Every single time, not clumsiness, but a young dog checking in on a boy whose breathing pattern he could apparently read better than his own mother could. The pushing that afternoon, harder than usual, timed to the one moment it actually mattered, angling Theo into a position that kept his airway clearer. 8 months old, untrained, and somehow already doing a job nobody had assigned him. They never crated Bodie during floor time again. He still leans on Theo most afternoons, gentle now, unhurried, and Renata no longer reaches for the crate door. She sits on the floor with them instead, one hand resting on the dog's broad back, finally understanding that the weight she'd spent weeks trying to train away had never been clumsiness at all.